Hey there my peeps, so this video is going to be a bit different, or this review is going to be a bit different than my typical one. I'm not going to go over the results, just going to go over my thoughts, what I liked, what I didn't like, what stood out, or whatever. If you guys want the results in written form, they're going to be in the description box. So, first off, the best part of the show by far, at least to me, was the 5-on-5 traditional men's elimination match. Going into the show, I was like, this is probably going to be the match of the night, and it was. Throughout the entire match, I was entertained, and I was so engaged into the match. This was one of the very few matches where I actually felt like one of those fans that gets really angry when somebody does something despicable or something like that. Pretty much, Dean Ambrose, like one of those fans on Facebook or something, you know, that comment, yo, why did you betray him, you know, you're such a disgusting human being, blah blah blah. Well, not to that extent, but anyways, when Dean Ambrose almost cost SmackDown the match, I was kind of pissed. I was like, because I was rooting for SmackDown. I was so into this match, rooting for SmackDown the entire way. I'm just a SmackDown guy. And then he goes ahead right when SmackDown has the advantage, freaking aligns himself with the Shield, and they triple powerbomb AJ through the table. I will admit though, it was cool to see Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns attack the security so they can let go of Dean Ambrose so they can go ahead and triple powerbomb him. The triple powerbomb itself wasn't, I guess, as exciting as it could have been because we saw it not that long ago in that Payback Fatal 4-Way match. But just the part where Roman and Seth went ahead and kind of saved Dean Ambrose. I like that. But yeah man, awesome match, and what I loved the most about the match is how Bray Wyatt was used, how this was pretty much Bray Wyatt's biggest win yet. Yeah, he's beating John Cena, he's beating Roman Reigns one-on-one, but he cheated in those, and this is something, I know he kind of cheated here too, and he got saved by Randy and all of that, but this match, the Wyatt family were the sole survivors. Bray Wyatt got the last fall. This is Survivor Series, one of the biggest pay-per-views. And also, it's a Survivor Series classic match. You know, these matches are always remembered. You know, people still remember that, you know, not too long ago, even though Dolph Ziggler isn't being, you know, used as prominently as people would have thought after what happened at Survivor Series when he took out the Authority in that match and was the sole survivor. People still remember that. People still remember that, hey, Randy's been a sole survivor a couple times at Survivor Series. And this was a really cool moment for Bray Wyatt. And I think what made it even cooler is that nobody really expected this. I know I at least expected Dean Ambrose or AJ Styles, if SmackDown was going to win, that one of those guys, or maybe both of them, would be, you know, the last survivors. Not Bray Wyatt. I had seen a bunch of people saying, hey, I'm calling it, Bray Wyatt's going to be the first eliminated. And guess what? Bray Wyatt is one of the sole survivors, him and Randy, and he eliminates Roman Reigns to win the match for SmackDown. That's big. And Randy sacrificing himself for Bray Wyatt taking the spear. I mean, Randy's really dedicated to make Bray Wyatt trust him. He's really dedicated to this role. Hey, I'm still not falling for it though. I know Randy's gonna turn on him. This is a plan, but they're doing really good with this. A lot better than the Daniel Bryan storyline where he joined the Wyatt family for what, 1 week, and that was it? This has been going on now for a month, I think, or so. And Randy taking that spear for Bray, pushing him out the way. Like, it was a great ending. It was great. It had a ton of cool moments, unexpected moments. Everybody shined. Braun Strowman went ahead and eliminated Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose was the first person to be eliminated. That was a big surprise. And for Braun Strowman to do it, that was an even bigger surprise. Shane McMahon taking out Braun Strowman with the elbow drop, that was expected. That's exactly how I thought he'd get eliminated. Did not see James Ellsworth though, you know, holding him down. And also, man, speaking of Shane, I hope he's okay. Because after that spear, man, he looked messed up. I mean, first off, when I first saw the spear, coast to coast into the spear, I was like, yo, that's the coolest mid-air spear Roman's hit yet. I think the first one he did was to Seth Rollins, that one time before WrestleMania when he was about to face Brock. That one was okay, I guess. It was the first one I think we had seen from Roman, but the landing was kind of off. Then he did one to AJ, actually did two to AJ, those were cool. But this one, because of the distance and everything, it was like the best one yet. But then once I saw Shane's face, I'm like, oh, okay, that spear though might have come at a cost. I don't know, like, his elimination was weird, man. Referee was counting, and then seems like Shane McMahon kicks out, but I'm not sure, was he supposed to kick out, or was he not supposed to kick out? Because right after they eliminate him, I'm assuming that they eliminated him because, you know, the docs checked on him, and they were like, okay, he can't continue on. So yeah, hopefully Shane's okay, and as far as the match goes, well, already said, it was great. As far as the other Survivor Series Classic matches, I thought the tag team one, pretty much the SmackDown tag teams versus the Raw tag teams, was decent. Towards the end, it got better, and then you had the Usos as, like, the last guys. That was unexpected there. I actually thought American Alpha would be the last guys on the SmackDown side, so I was a bit disappointed with that. But then I actually liked that the Usos were the last team on the SmackDown side. It made the Usos look good. And also at the same time, they got Sheamus and Cesaro closer to being on the same page. The women's one was okay. What it really made clear, though, is that Bayley is going to be the next challenger to Charlotte's title. I mean, she goes ahead, she beats Becky Lynch to win the match for her team, and then after the match, Charlotte attacks her. Yeah, it's going to happen, probably at Roadblock. And then Sami Zayn versus The Miz. I enjoyed the match, liked the ending. The Miz, once again, finding a way to win. I actually didn't know what was going on for a second, but then I saw Maurice ringing the bell, and now that the IC title is on SmackDown and Sami Zayn failed to capture the title, see, initially, I was thinking Stephanie McMahon would go ahead and fire Sami Zayn the next night on Raw, but they had a backstage segment afterwards where Stephanie McMahon and Mick Foley were talking about the matches that they won and lost, and Stephanie was like, oh, you know, it wasn't really Sami Zayn's fault that he lost, so I don't know where this goes. Like, I thought that with the Miz winning, you could easily make a storyline where, hey, Stephanie McMahon's pissed at Sami Zayn, she didn't like him in the first place, so she fires him, and then SmackDown hires him, so now I'm interested in seeing if they're gonna give maybe Sami Zayn more opportunities, and maybe he's gonna fail or something like that. He's gonna piss Stephanie McMahon off, and that's gonna lead her to firing him, or is he just staying on Raw? I'm not really sure at this point. And then when it comes to the Cruiserweight Championship match, Brian Kendrick versus Kalisto, I find myself once again kind of disappointed in the Cruiserweight match. Hopefully it changes for 205. Hopefully 205 is more like the Cruiserweight Classic tournament. Because if it is, we're going to have some really good Cruiserweight matches on there. I've noticed, like, I noticed it right away. Pretty sure I'm not the only one that once they got on the main roster, once, you know, they had their pay-per-view match, I think it was Brian Kendrick versus TJ Perkins for the first time, you could see that they toned it down a lot. So hopefully they, you know, ramp it back up, maybe even just a little bit on 205, but I had this feeling through the entire match, like, sometimes you can tell when somebody's not gonna win, and in this case, you know, Kalisto was my prediction for this match, but while watching the match, I'm like, I had this feeling that Kalisto's winning this, just the way the match is going. Did I say winning this? I mean, I have a feeling that Kalisto's losing this, just from the way the match is going, and sure enough, he lost the match, and he didn't lose the match via Captain's Hook, via tap out, whatever. He lost the match when Baron Corbin came in and attacked Brian Kendrick, causing a disqualification. I'm disappointed that the match ended via DQ and we didn't get a clear winner in a SmackDown versus Raw match, but at the same time, it fits Baron Corbin's character. And the craziest thing is, or maybe not the craziest thing, it's not really a crazy thing, but before I was going to make my prediction video, when I was thinking about the Kalisto versus Brian Kendrick match and who to go with, who's probably going to win, one of the scenarios that popped in my mind, and this was something that I really considered as a possibility, was, hey, what if Baron Corbin gets involved, because it's something Baron Corbin would do because of what Kalisto did to him on SmackDown. He goes ahead, makes his return on the pay-per-view, and attacks Kalisto. And not behind the referee's back or anything, actually Baron Corbin getting disqualified. That was something I thought about, but what made me change my mind and what made me go with just Kalisto winning the match, becoming the new champion, and bringing the division over was the fact that they replaced Baron Corbin with Shane McMahon because they said that Baron Corbin wouldn't be able to compete at the pay-per-view. So I was like, oh, well, it wouldn't make much sense because if he shows up at the pay-per-view, then he could have just been in the 5-on-5 match. And he showed up on the pay-per-view and he caused the disqualification. So it fits Baron Corbin's character. You know, he doesn't care about anything but himself. He doesn't care if SmackDown, you know, gets the Cruiserweight division or not, or if SmackDown beats Raw. He just cares about what he gets, the money he gets, and the championships and all that. But I just, you know, was a bit disappointed because I did want to see, you know, either Brian Kendrick win the title or Kalisto win the championship. What would have been the perfect scenario for me is if Brian Kendrick didn't lose the title, but somehow the Cruiserweight division went to SmackDown. Now it's going to be a bit weird though. You're going to have Raw, and then the Cruiserweights will compete right after SmackDown, and then right after the Cruiserweight show that's not a part of SmackDown, you're going to have Talking Smack. But anyways, let's move on to the juicy stuff. Let's move on to the main event, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar. This is going to be one of those matches, if you can even call it that, because of how short it was. One of those things that, you know, is hated by a lot of people, but at the same time, you've got a bunch of people that, you know, loved it. I think I'm part of the people that loved it. You know, I've been getting a bit tired of the Brock Lesnar formula of matches where it's just Brock hitting a suplex, German suplex, or whatever, waiting a couple seconds until the guy gets up, or just picking him up for himself and hitting another German, waiting a couple more seconds, hitting a suplex, and then whatever other suplex, a belly to belly, whatever. It's been getting boring. It's like Brock was told, hey, we want to go with this whole Suplex City thing. All you gotta do for your matches is suplex after suplex after suplex. And then Brock, after hearing that, was probably real excited, like, oh, you know, less work. I don't have to think about, you know, spots or whatever, or different things to do. Pretty much do the same thing over and over again, and that's it, and I get paid. So, like, I'd say since maybe WrestleMania where he faced off against Dean Ambrose, the matches have been disappointing and boring. Dean Ambrose versus Brock was hyped up like it was going to be some extreme matchup, hardcore match where they were going to fight everywhere. You had, you know, Dean Ambrose pulling out the chainsaw and all that. Not like he was going to use a real chainsaw or whatever, but it was really hyped up, and it really disappointed. Ended quick and ended in a disappointing fashion. And then Brock Lesnar versus Randy, a match that people have wanted to see for a long time. That was disappointing, and it ended with Brock just busting up Randy and the match just ends. And here, Brock versus Goldberg. See, the first match they had was bad. That match was like half of it, or over half the match, was them just stalling, staring at each other. I'm talking about the WrestleMania match here that they had. Staring at each other, staring at Stone Cold, Steve Austin, the referee, and then some more staring. And then, like, some grappling where they, you know, see who can overpower who, and then nobody overpowers the other. It was just a lot of waste of time. And right here, they got to the point, man. I was looking forward to seeing how Goldberg would perform. But you know what? I'm not really disappointed with it. Even though I wanted to see how Goldberg would perform in an actual, you know, match that lasted longer than 2 minutes, I'm still cool with it. Because this, to me, was a lot better than if this was going to be something like Brock versus Randy, or even Brock versus Dean Ambrose. And I think maybe the surprise factor has a lot to do with that. Who expected that? Nobody expected that. Most of us expected Brock Lesnar to win the match, and if Goldberg was going to win, we certainly didn't expect Goldberg to win in such a fashion, in pretty much a squash match. I think it was like 1 minute and 20-something seconds. It was like one of the old WCW Goldberg matches where he just squashes a guy. But he did that to Brock Lesnar. So now Goldberg has handed Brock Lesnar's first pinfall loss since his loss to Triple H at WrestleMania 29. And with how quick he beat Brock Lesnar, I don't think we're done seeing Goldberg in the WWE. I think there's either going to be a rematch, or we might see Goldberg versus The Undertaker. Now, actually, I know I said in the live coverage video that I could see Goldberg versus Taker afterwards, but I think maybe Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar in the rematch might be more likely. Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman might go like, yo, that was a fluke or whatever, let's have one final match, even though a final match between the two would make more sense if Brock were to win. But this was definitely more interesting to me than Brock Lesnar just winning after, you know, a Brock Lesnar match. Because I haven't been the biggest fan of the recent Brock Lesnar matches. So this was a huge surprise in terms of Goldberg winning, and also the match itself, it ending that quick. You know, 2 spears, jackhammer, and it was over. Now, if they were to have a match where Goldberg still wins, but, you know, the match lasts longer and it's a bit back and forth between the two, then yeah, that might have been better. Of course, it depends, you know, we don't know how it was going to go down or whatever. But this was a safer solution. It had that shock factor to it, a big shock factor. And the fact that Goldberg, like, I'm a fan of Goldberg, and seeing him beat Brock Lesnar after I've been kind of bored of the Brock Lesnar matches, and also wondering, like, who's gonna go ahead and beat Brock Lesnar, you know? Because the guy's, like, beating everybody already. The only person he hasn't really beaten is Roman Reigns, at least when it comes to the guys currently on the main roster. And now that I think about the storyline, it's kind of cool, like, it's kind of a cool ending, really. Because you got Brock Lesnar, he's unstoppable, he's beaten everybody, but there's this one person in his past that's beaten him before, that person being one of the most dominant, if not the most dominant superstar of all time, Goldberg. He goes ahead, comes back, and puts a stop to Brock Lesnar's streak. So that about covers it for the main event. As far as the pre-show matches, I'm sick of the tag team matches, the variation of the tag team matches on the pre-shows or the kickoff. They've had like 6-man tag team matches or any variation of a tag team match for the past 7 pay-per-views or something like that. Like, give me something else. But to be fair, they did have that second kickoff match this time, Kane versus Luke Harper, but it's not like that match screams excitement either. And also, Harper lost. But on the plus side, Kane won. See, as somebody who's always liked Kane, I'm glad Kane still wins some matches, but at the same time, I feel Luke Harper really needs some wins. The Wyatt family, like, hey, Bray can look strong at times, but Luke Harper has always looked weak, unfortunately. He hasn't won any big matches apart from that one time he won the IC title match, and that's pretty much it. And then he lost it, like, what, a week after or 2 weeks after, something like that? But anyways, man, overall, I'd rate this show a 7 on 10. I thought it was good, and a huge part of that is that 5-on-5 men's match and the main event, Goldberg destroying Brock Lesnar. But especially that 5-on-5 match. It's always cool to see somebody new get the spotlight in a match like this. You know, somebody to get the fall, win the match for their team. In this case, it was Bray Wyatt, and that was great. And also, I love where they're going with the Randy and Bray Wyatt feud, or not feud, I guess. The storyline, like they've actually went far with it, to the point where Randy's actually sacrificing himself for Bray Wyatt, like legit putting himself in the way of a spear. That was cool. I'm looking forward to SmackDown, and I'm also looking forward to Raw. I want to see what happens now. Let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know your rating for the show. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, you can click the like button down below. And with that said, I'm out. See ya.